Adam Fantilli. That's it. That's the cold open. That's what I got. Adam Fantilli. Let's talk about him on today's Locked On Blue Jackets.
You're Locked On Blue Jackets, your daily podcast on the Columbus Blue Jackets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, and welcome to Locked On Blue Jackets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am, as always, your host, Jay Foster, here to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly about your favorite team and mine, the Columbus Blue Jackets. Before we get things started, I want to thank everyone for making this your first listen of the day every single day. Locked On Blue Jackets is free and available on all podcast platforms and over on YouTube. Thank you for making us your first listen of the day every single day. Let's talk about that game, because a monster game from Adam Fantilli, but quietly a monster game for a couple of other guys as well. So I want to talk about that. I want to talk about this team's love of overtime or post-regulation. And I want to talk about why there are still some concerning things happening in this team's game. Like, there's a lot of positives to take from this game, but there are still some kind of not so positive signs. So let's start with the good, which is Adam Fantilli, man. He loves to play the Leafs in Toronto. Last season had a hat trick, his first career hat trick in Toronto. Could maybe have had a hat trick last night. I watched the replay. Like, I might have just given that goal to Adam Fantilli, you know? Like, I feel like Voronkov barely touched it. And like, yeah, great for Voronkov to get a goal. He loves to score goals like that. 9th of the season for Voronkov, which is leading the team, which feels kind of wild. But here comes Adam Fantilli. He's like, oh, if Dmitry Voronkov's going to steal my first goal, fine, I'll get a second goal. And then the overtime goal, just a huge play from Fantilli. This is the Fantilli that we saw in the back half of last season, right? Like, the line was dominant as well. Not every line was in this game, but the Fantilli line had 62.5% of the scoring chances in this game. At 5-on-5, they out attempted the Leafs 20-12. Which was the best of the lines, apart from one. But we'll talk about the problem with the second line in the second here. I want to talk about Adam Fantilli some more. Like, since being called up to since being put on that top line with Marchenko and Voronkov, Adam Fantilli has 10 points in 8 games. Including tonight or last night, 2 goal, 1 assist outing. So that's 8 games. The 13 games previous to that, he had 6 points. So he's gone from being under a half a point a game to being over a point a game. Just by, again, amazing what happens when you give him like time on ice, right? He's doing all of this. He's still playing on average, like, not as much as his quote unquote peers, right? Like, Bedard plays a ton. Bedard plays, I think, about 21 minutes a night, 22 minutes a night. Celebrini plays about 22 minutes a night. Carlson is playing more than him. Since getting the call up, which I believe was the Vancouver game, Fantilli has averaged more. So he played 22 minutes last night. He played 21.5 against Montreal, almost 23 against Seattle. So he's playing more, but he's still not playing as much as these other guys, right? So I still think that there is more for him to give, right? I don't have his points per 60 on hand. That's something that I'm gonna dig into this weekend, I think. But this is the kind of game that, like, we should be seeing from Adam Fantilli basically every night. And earlier in the season, he was dominating but not putting the puck in the net. Now he started putting the puck in the net, right? And he's still not shooting like an insane amount, right? Like, he's shooting at 16% at the minute, which is only a little bit over his career average. He shot at about 16% last year and had 31 goals, right? So, again, when you look at the guys, quote unquote, peers, like Leo Carson specifically is one that I'm looking at. Like, he was shooting at like 40% for a while there, which I don't think, like, Leo Carson's having a great season, right? I'm not disputing that. I do not know how sustainable that was, and it has actually come down now. He's shooting at about 20%. So it has started to come back down to earth a little bit. But Adam Fantilli finding his way this season after a slow start. That line continues to just be money, right? Like, he's anchoring that line in a way that we saw Monahan do last season and haven't seen him do this season. And I do wonder, and we'll talk about Monahan in a minute here, but I do wonder if Monahan is nursing some kind of injury. So I don't think this is just like a line mate issue, because he played with like subpar line mates for part of last season, right? And he was still extremely good. So I don't know what's going on with Monahan right now. But fact of the matter is, he wasn't getting it done on that top line. Adam Fantilli is getting it done on that top line. And I don't think that it's just a case of, and I think I talked about this a little bit. I think I talked about this a little bit in yesterday's episode. Like, I don't think this is a case of, guys like Marchenko who lift the entire line because of how just friggin' dope they are. I don't think that's what's happening here, right? Like, you look at the two lines, and the Monahan line was, by which I mean the Voronkov Monahan Marchenko line, was getting 49% of expected goals. The Voronkov Fantilli Marchenko line is getting 56% of the expected goals, right? Like, they are just they're it's a better line in basically every way, which is always very fun, right? Do I think it could be a little bit more defensively sound? Sure, but so could every line on this team, right? I don't understand this team's aversion to defense. That being said, who's kind of very quietly been having an extremely on-brand sequence of games? Zach Werenski, again, I feel like had kind of a slow start to the season. In his last 5 games, he's got 8 points. He did have a 3-point effort against the Leafs last night, but 5-game point streak, including 2 multi-point efforts, Montreal and last night against Toronto. He had a goal in Winnipeg. He had an assist in New York, an assist against the Oilers, and has been playing approximately a bajillion minutes a night, and has looked much, much, much more like the Zach Werenski that we got last season, right? Like, again, he had kind of a slow-ish start to the season. He had a 3-point game against Minnesota for the second game of the season, and then he had an assist against Tampa Bay, which was the 5th game of the season. But those were his only points for the first 8 games or so. He picked it up around game 9 against Buffalo. Has been kind of streaky since then, but like I said, 8 points in his last 5 games, looking a lot like Zach Werenski we saw last season. And he's got 19 points in 21 games, which I believe is good for second on the team in scoring right now. So I cannot complain about the offense that we're getting from Zach Werenski right now. I don't think he's done turning it up, because again, like last night, he just very quietly had 3 assists, and I was like, oh yeah, like great to see Werenski get an assist on that last goal, the overtime winner. Like, great play from Werenski. Kent Johnson didn't get an assist, but I believe that it was his defensive play that started the chaos. Sean Monahan jumps on the ice, didn't get an assist either, but Werenski with the pass to Fantilli gets it done. And then I was looking at the game sheet, and I was like, oh, Zach Werenski just, again, very quietly had had 3 assists. Normal, you know? Shockingly, Kromachenko did not get a point, which is extremely un-Marchenko-like, especially if his line mates, again, Fantilli got 3 points, Dmitry Vronkov had a goal and an assist. He assisted on Fantilli's second goal, presumably as an apology to stealing his first goal. But yeah, extremely surprising to see Marchenko not record a point. And if the top line had a 6-point night, very surprising that none of those points went to Marchenko. But still part of that line, still very dominant. Like, the Blue Jackets just don't give up a lot when Marchenko is on the ice, which is always great, right? He had a 60% personal and individual 60% shot attempt share while he was on the ice. So you love to see it. That top line was great. Jake Christensen had a really good night, which of course means that he played barely at all. Similarly, Kent Johnson had actually the best night of all the Blue Jackets in terms of both shot attempt and expected goals for percentage. He created half a goal and only gave up 0.07%, or 0.07 of a goal, which is kind of wild. And again, was benched despite that second line being really, really good in terms of creating offense, but not actually putting the puck in the net, which has kind of been Kent Johnson's story all season. And I do want to talk about that. I want to talk about that. And I also want to talk about, yes, the Blue Jackets blew a lead in this game, but it wasn't the worst blown lead that we've seen. Like, we've seen some really bad blown leads, right? This wasn't that bad. So we'll do all of that in just a second here on Locked On Blue Jackets. First, I've got to tell you about Monarch. Let's be honest, most of us can't name all our financial accounts, let alone what they're worth. Between 401k, savings, investments, it's easy to lose track, and that can mean leaving money on the table. That's why I started using Monarch. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. It's helped me organize my investments, track my spending, get a better handle on what my money is doing, and I don't have to touch a spreadsheet, which I love. I can review everything. I can see shared goals with my partner as well. They do that. So it helps us make better financial decisions together. And it's so much easier to understand where my money's going and how to make it work for me with Monarch's visual dashboards and smart tools. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarch.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarch.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for 50% off your first year. Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jackets. We've talked about the good. Let's talk about the less good, which was the bottom six basically didn't do anything in this game, which was kind of frustrating. That third line continues to get way more leniency than basically any other line, despite having kind of a rough night in every zone. What's surprising to me is how good the Wood, Monahan, Johnson line was right up until they allowed a goal. And I don't know. I believe it was the Titan. It must have been the first goal that the Leafs scored. I'm pulling up the shift chart here just for a second. So the first goal was the top line was on the ice. The second Leafs goal was also while the top line was on the ice. Or no, excuse me. The first goal was the Wood, Monahan, Johnson. I was misreading the chart for a second there. So yeah, that first Leafs goal, the second line was on the ice for it, and I believe that is when the second line stopped being Wood, Monahan, Marchenko. Wood, Monahan, Johnson, and started being Wood, Monahan, basically anyone else, which is such a choice because, again, they were dominating. Shots were 5-1 in their favor in the 8:43 they played before getting split up. And then after that, it was just kind of a series of plug and play, right? Like they had Coyle, Monahan, Olivier for a little while. They had Lundstrom, Monahan, Coyle for a little while. They had Wood, Monahan, Coyle for a little while. And none of these lines were as good as the Wood, Monahan, Johnson line, but because they were outscored 1-0, then obviously that means you've got to break that line up. And for whatever reason, it's Kent Johnson that gets sent to the Shadow Realm, despite the fact that he led all Blue Jackets in possession numbers. When Kent Johnson was on the ice, the Blue Jackets were outshooting the Leafs 6-2, despite the Leafs in general outshooting the Blue Jackets 35-31 in the game. So I personally think probably Kent Johnson could have had a little bit more ice time, and that would have been good. And I don't understand. I mean, I do kind of understand what Everson's problem with Johnson is, but it doesn't make it any less frustrating, right? Especially because you look at other lines that are underperforming, but because they quote unquote play the right way, or because they get caved in possession wise and score, they get to stay together, but basically unmolested. I will say the fourth line was god awful tonight. Chinikov specifically got caved in. He was on the ice for 1 shot attempt for and 13 against. Delbar Blues 2 shot attempts for 12 against. Lundstrom 5 shot attempts for 14 against. So, like, I understand why Chinikov got benched late in the game. Like, I still don't think that they're using him to his best potential. But the way that Johnson consistently comes in, like, at the top of these charts in terms of offense creation and, like, shot attempt share, and gets benched at kind of the drop of a hat is really, really starting to frustrate me. What else did I want to talk about in this section? I think that was kind of it. Just kind of, I want to talk about blown leads. Yes, the Blue Jackets blew a lead. It wasn't as bad as usual. Like, I know that I tweeted about it like the sky was falling, because that's what I do. It's late at night. I get frustrated. The Blue Jackets had a 2-1 lead going into the third period. Now, they had a 2-1 lead that Dakota Murmis scored 2 minutes after Fantilli's 2-0 goal. And then 3 minutes into the third period, the Leafs tied the game. So they went from being down 2-0 to tied at 2-2. But I do think that this was a much better third period for the Blue Jackets overall. They outshot the Leafs 12-8. Joshua Wall was very good for the Leafs. Not as good as Jet Greaves was for the Blue Jackets, but I thought Joseph Wall was good, considering he's played like 5 minutes this season. You know, I'm not going to sit here and say that we made him look like a Vezina candidate or anything. Like, he was good, but not like unbeatable, obviously. Had a 900 save percentage, but Jet Greaves was better. 2 goals on 29 shots is great for Greaves, who's had a couple of strong games in a row here. I don't know what that means for Elvis coming up on tomorrow's game against the Red Wings, but I thought the goaltending was very good for the Blue Jackets, and also good for the Leafs. This didn't feel like a blown lead in the same way that the others did. I feel like to blow a lead, it has to be a little bit more dramatic than, like, yes, they blew a lead, right? But it wasn't a case of the Leafs pull the goalie for like 3 minutes, and you know, you have to watch the Blue Jackets try to score an empty net for 3 minutes, and they just give up a bajillion shots and finally, you know, allow the game tying goal with like 4 seconds left, as we've seen them do this season, right? This to me just felt like okay, it was a 2-1 game and then it was a 2-2 game, right? And they didn't turtle as much as they did. It was still kind of frustrating to watch, because I do still feel like they ice the puck a lot, and I do still feel like they're allergic to like controlled zone exits. Some players more than others. I found myself really frustrated by Ivan Provorov in this game, and I don't know if that's just because I kept I kept noticing that it was him, and I'm not going to sit here and say that it is entirely a Provorov problem because everyone does it. I do think it was more egregious for Provorov in last night's game of just kind of lazy plays, of just kind of throwing the puck away and hoping for the best, which again is something that's going to burn them. And I do think that the problem with last night's game is I do think that they maybe should have dominated more than they did, right? Like, the Leafs were missing a lot of guys. Like, yes, they still had William Nylander. Yes, they still had John Tavares, who did score a goal. But, like, no Matthews, no Nyes. They've got, like, $40 million in injuries at the minute. Their defense is Morgan Riley and friends. You know, and the Blue Jackets still kind of barely beat them in the shot game, were dominated on the faceoffs, couldn't get the special teams going. They did successfully kill the penalties, but they didn't score on the power play. They gave the puck away a lot. I felt like it should have been and I feel really dumb kind of sitting here because they should have won by more, but I do kind of think that they maybe should have won by more than they did, and probably should have outshot the Leafs by more than they did, because they really only have one line, and then it's again just a bunch of dudes. So solid win. Great to get the extra point in overtime. I do think all of these loser points or overtime points or whatever you want to call them, they keep giving to Eastern Conference teams is going to bite them in the long run. Like, the Leafs could be a team that the Blue Jackets are battling with for a wild card spot, right? They are sitting on 21 points right now. The Blue Jackets are 3 points ahead of them. There's 6 teams between them, but it does feel like, again, like you look at the teams around the Blue Jackets and who they've given points to Pittsburgh and Washington, who are the wild card teams right now. They gave a point to Montreal. They gave 2 points to the Rangers. They gave a point to the Maple Leafs. They gave 2 points to the Islanders. They gave 2 points to the Devils, right? Like, all of these teams around them in the standings, the Blue Jackets have given points to, and I do think that's going to come back and bite them. But as of right now, 2 points is 2 points, right? Will they get 2 points tomorrow? We'll see. It's a matinee game, which is always kind of dicey. It's the Red Wings, which I feel like is always stupid. But let's check in with how Detroit is doing real quick on today's Locked On Blue Jackets. First, I got to tell you about Rugiet, because let's be real, making excuses doesn't solve anything. We've heard them all before. It's stress, I'm tired, it happens to everyone sometimes. But when it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little extra support, and that's where Rugiet comes in. They offer fast-acting, doctor-prescribed treatments for ED designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. Super easy to get started. You just connect with a board-certified doctor completely online. There's no awkward waiting rooms. There's no in-person appointments. And if you get prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly directly to your door. It's fast, simple, and private, and it's all handled by real doctors. It's about confidence, connection, and getting back to the moments that matter. Visit rugiet.com/lockedonnhl to get 15% off your first order. That's rugiet.com/lockedonnhl. And don't forget to use our code LockedOnNHL so they know we sent you. Rugiet, stop making excuses and start making moves. I've also got to let you know about FanDuel, because the NBA is back and there is no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who's going to score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. Keeps every game exciting, especially if your team is making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Just find the heaviest favorite you can. Doesn't matter who it is. Just go in, find a heavy favorite, put $5 on it, and if that $5 comes through, then you're going to get $300 in bonus bets that you can spend on whatever you want. Whether you want to do those insane same game parlays, whether you want to just kind of pick the money line, I don't know. You can do all of that with your bonus bets. All you have to do is take that first $5 bet and turn it into a win. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jackets. Let's talk about the Red Wings real quick, who are having a decent start to the season. They are 12-8-1 right now. They are 4-5-1 in their last 10 games, though. They just lost 5-0 to the Islanders. Interestingly, the thing that I thought that they had kind of maybe the most improved on this season has kind of been a weakness of theirs, which is that the goaltending's not really getting it done. John Gibson has an .870 save percentage in 11 games. Cam Talbot has a .897 in 10 games, which is not the numbers that I kind of expected. Especially, I thought John Gibson, who was good on a bad Ducks team. I know that a lot of people wanted the Blue Jackets to pick him up this offseason and were furious that they didn't, but he's been not great for the Red Wings. Somehow they're winning games. I'm kind of looking over their numbers here, and the Red Wings make no sense to me. They're getting a lot of scoring from their top line, which is Larkin, DeBrincat, Raymond, and they're getting basically no scoring from anywhere else. So Larkin has 24 points, DeBrincat has 23, Raymond has 22. Next up in scoring is Mo Seider, who has 12 points. The next forwards are Emmett Finney, who's a rookie, and Patrick Kane, who have 9 points. Now, Patrick Kane has only played 12 games this season. He was injured. I don't know if he's back yet. I believe he is. Yeah, he's been back for a couple of games. He's played at least the last 5 games. So, presumably he'll get back up to speed for them, as much as I resent that. But yeah, the Red Wings are a team that doesn't make any sense. Again, somehow they've got 12 wins on the season. They are, I believe, at the top of the Atlantic division, or they were the last time I checked. I'm just going to pull that up real quick. Yeah, they've got 25 points, which is only a point above the Blue Jackets, which is wild because the Blue Jackets are 2 points out of being the 3rd seed in the Metropolitan. Like, all 3 Metropolitan seeds right now, so 1, 2, and 3, have more points than the top seed in the Atlantic. The Atlantic is weird this season. I thought it was going to be dominant, and it turns out that actually it's kind of not. So again, because they're the 1st seed in the Atlantic, it looks like they're way above the Blue Jackets in the standings, but they're only actually 1 point ahead of them. So that could be key. Blue Jackets have to finish this in regulation. I'm tired of going to overtime. I'm tired of staying up late. I'm tired of giving points to the other team, especially if that other team is someone that you could be competing with for a playoff spot, right? The 5-on-5 is probably in the Blue Jackets' favor. The Red Wings have better special teams. Like, they're still kind of middle of the road special teams. They're 14th in power play and 13th in penalty kill. But the Blue Jackets are scoring more than them per game and allowing less than them per game. Power play continues to improve slowly. The penalty kill is also improving. They're sitting at 27th right now. Goaltending continues to be good for the Blue Jackets. Jet Greaves sitting on a 906 after 2 strong games. I don't know if Elvis will play tonight. He probably should, but I think Jet having a good game against Toronto does make it, I think, harder to put Elvis in, because I think a lot about like what you're seeing in Montreal right now, right? Which is you had a younger goalie who was on a hot streak, and you had your starting goalie who was struggling. Now, Sam Montembeault is playing much worse than Elvis is this season. Like, Elvis still has a 900 save percentage, even after a couple of rough games, right? He wasn't good against the Canucks, and he wasn't good against the Jets, which I believe were his last 2 games, right? Do you play the younger goalie that is playing well in more recent games? Do you play the hot hand, or do you put in a goalie that's had a couple of bad games in a row and rebound him, right? Like, if you can get Elvis going again and you get that tandem rolling again, that's great, right? And that's kind of not key to the Blue Jackets' success, but it's going to make your life so much easier if you have 2 goalies that you can trust, right? However, do you risk putting Elvis in, who is underperforming at the minute? And, it's not a key matchup, but this is a game that you want to win, right? Do you put Elvis in and just hope that he rebounds, or do you put kind of a more known commodity in? And the reason I bring the Habs up for this is they decided to bench their young goal, or not bench, but they decided to play Montembeau over Dobesh, despite the fact that Dobesh was playing really, really well, was really, really hot. They were like, well, we need to get Sam going. We need to get Montembeau going. And what they did was Montembeau continued to play badly, and it threw off Dobish's confidence and also his rhythm, and he has been not great since then. So, again, I don't think it's as dire for the Blue Jackets as it was for the Habs in their, their need to get Montembeau going, because Elvis was playing better than Montembeau, but I do think that there is that worry there, right, of, is this a game that you can afford to give to Elvis to help him find his game, or do you just kind of, again, continue to ride the hot hand? I think probably Elvis starts, but I'm not going to be massively shocked if they give the start to Greaves. The problem is that it's a matinee game. I believe it's a 1 p.m. Eastern start, which, as we all know, is like a lawless time for a game. And normally I would be great. I'd be like, great. I'm like, that's a 6 p.m. start for me. The game will be done by 8:30. I love it. However, I have plans on Saturday, so I feel personally victimized by my first Saturday having plans this season, and they're like, "Oh yeah, a matinee game, sure thing." So that's beside the point, though. Let's talk predictions. Because I do think this is a very winnable game for the Blue Jackets. The Red Wings are coming off of a disheartening loss to the Islanders. I believe it was a 5-0 loss. In terms of who's hot for the Blue Jackets, Werenski's got, like I said, he's got 8 points in his last 5 games. Fantilli has got 4 goals in his last 5 games. It does feel a little bit like cheating to just kind of pick Fantilli again. But I'm feeling spicy, and I'll tell you why. I'm thinking about the outdoor game. Who scored the first goal in the outdoor game? Denton Mateychuk. Denton Mateychuk had a rough night against the Leafs, but not a horrible night. I still want to see him back up with Werenski, and I don't know why that's not happening. I mean, I kind of do. It's because they think that Provorov is better there, and it's simply not how this works. But I'm going to pick Denton Mateychuk to have a goal, to score a goal. Is the short version of what I'm rambling about here. Kind of a spicy take, I know, but I have a feeling. And in terms of final score, let's say a 4-2 Blue Jackets win. With the inevitable, they might score an empty netter. Who knows? I think it'll be a 4-2 game, probably with an empty netter, even though we all know empty netters don't count, and a Denton Mateychuk goal. That's my prediction. Get your prediction in the YouTube comment. Pick, every day is know the drill by now, but if you're new here, we're playing a game this season. Put your predictions for the final score, including who wins, and pick a Blue Jackets anytime goal scorer. If you win, you get points. Whoever gets the most points gets a prize at the end of the season. We're having fun with it. What was my prediction again? 4-2, Blue Jackets win. Denton Mateychuk goal. Get your prediction down below. There's also going to be a tweet going out probably around about the time that this episode goes live, so you can get your predictions in there as well. Or instead, do not predict on both YouTube and on Twitter, because that will just make my life so much more difficult. Thank you for listening to this episode, though, for making it your first listen of the day every single day. We are free and available on all podcast platforms and over on YouTube. Thank you for making us the _1 sports podcast network as well. We really, really appreciate it. I've been Jay Foster. You can find me on Blue Sky at JAKOBFORSTER. You can find the show at LO_Blue Jackets on Twitter and LO-Blue Jackets on Blue Sky. We're also over on TikTok. If that is a thing that you do, then we do that too. So go check us out on TikTok as well. And we won't be back tomorrow with another episode. We will be back on Monday with an episode breaking down the Red Wings game, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And also, I believe the Blue Jackets play Monday night. So we'll preview that game as well. If I am correct in thinking that they play then, yes, they play on Monday. They play the Capitals, so I'm sure that'll be fine and normal. Anyway, we'll preview that game. Hoping for a good, the bad, and the ugly. Lots of good, less bad, no ugly. Fingers crossed. Thank you for listening once again to this episode. Until Monday, make sure you stay locked on.